For the past few months or so, maybe a little longer, I have accumulated some knowledge around a very, very special musical composition that I will talk all about. Some knowledge around it, before it, after it, and its legacy. And I just felt all of this knowledge combined together is just too important and too beautiful for the world not to see it. I just feel it's worth sharing all this knowledge I accumulated around it. And yep, thank you if you're listening. Here we go. What if I told you that one of the most beautiful pieces of classical music ever written was so powerful it inspired scholars to categorize an entire genre just to describe it? We're going to talk a little bit about Béla Bartók's Piano Concerto No. 3, a composition that is so emotional. It's as emotional as it is groundbreaking. It's not, and this is not going to be just about music. It's going to be about love, war, and the profound connection between nature and art. The year was 1945. Europe was reeling from the devastation of World War II, and Béla Bartók, already at the time one of Hungary's most celebrated composers, fled to America, very far from home and in an alien world, away from the musical community that embraced him. Battling leukemia at this time, as well as a sense of alienation in his new home, Bartók's creativity was a little stifled. But just as the clouds seemed darkest, a glimmer of hope appeared. A commission to create what would become the celebrated Concerto for Orchestra. This was the turning point that would lead to his final masterpiece, the Piano Concerto No. 3. But this concerto, I feel, is not just another commission, as well as others. It is something far more personal. Bartók composed it as a surprise birthday gift for his wife, Ditta Pásztory-Bartók, a renowned pianist in her own right, and the intention was to give her a piece she could perform, ensuring her financial stability after his passing. He poured his heart into this composition, knowing it would be one of his last, given the fact that his leukemia had metastasized. In fact, the concerto was nearly complete when Bartók passed away on September 26, 1945. The final 17 bars were left unfinished, which a task that was later completed by his friend, Tibor Serly, using Bartók's detailed notes and commentary. The Piano Concerto No. 3 premiered in Philadelphia on February 8, 1946, only months after Bartók's death. Hungarian conductor Eugene Ormandy led the orchestra, with György Sándor as the piano soloist. The concerto was an immediate success, but the story is far from over. Fast forward to the 1990s, when Bartók's son, Peter, collaborated with musician Nelson de la Major to correct errors in the original edition. Their work resulted in a revised version that premiered in 1994, making a subtle yet significant changes to the concerto's pitch, pedaling, and tempos. So this was among its relatively immediate impact and success. So now we are going to talk about the genre itself that several scholars and devout listeners of this piece later inherited upon listening to it. A style of music to be called night music, a style known for its eerie dissonances, providing a backdrop to sounds of nature and lulling melodies. While a precise definition of night music may be eluding, it is generally recognized by listeners as works or passages that convey an essence of nighttime through music. This style, though largely subjective, evokes the subtle, mysterious sounds of the natural world. As Milan Kundera noted, inspiring melodic motives of a rare strangeness in Bartók's compositions. Bartók's night music often incorporates direct imitations of natural sounds, such as bird calls or the croaking of nocturnal creatures, to create an atmosphere that feels both spacious and solitary. This approach to sound portrayal, rather than focusing on traditional melody and harmony, reflects Bartók's unique ability to evoke the feeling of being outdoors at night, listening to the distant and lonely songs that seem to emerge from the landscape itself. As Kundera remarked, these melodies found their origin not in self-expression, but in the external world. A clear duality for the creativity behind the inception of musical melodies. Kundera actually did not define night music by a linear definition. Instead, she categorized its characteristics and noted some key characteristics of night music. These include slow, repetitive sounds that serve as a backdrop, irregular motives that may imitate natural sounds, and wide pitch ranges that add to the feeling of spaciousness or loneliness. Bartók's use of these elements create a layered, immersive experience, where different musical materials overlap and interact, much like the diverse and complex sounds that you may hear walking into a forest at nighttime. The development through the life of Bartók was very gradual in the case of night music, and the style's boundaries are not exactly clear. However, several compositions stand out as key examples of this style. For instance, the Night's Music from the Out of Doors Suite is considered a quintessential piece in the night music style. Other notable works include movements from his string quartets, piano concertos, and the Elegia from the Concerto for Orchestra, where Bartók masterfully blends the eerie and the natural to evoke the essence of the night. Bartók's inspiration for night music can be traced back to his summer visits to Shallow Sputza, where the quiet, expansive nights of the Hungarian plains influenced his compositions. The sounds of nature, particularly those heard at night, played a significant role in shaping his musical ideas. The connection between nature and music is evident in the way Bartók integrated natural sounds into his composition, creating a style that is haunting and possibly even morose at times, but is also highly emotional and evocative. So not only do we have an incredible piece of music from thanks to Bartók's Piano Concerto No. 3, especially my personal favorite of the movements, Adagio Religioso, the genre that succeeded it, night music, represented a significant contribution to the linguistics of modern music. Through his innovative use of connecting sounds and atmosphere, Bartók was able to capture the mysterious and unsettling and maybe even bucolic qualities of the night. And it continues to influence and inspire people like myself, reminding those who adore music on a very serious level how powerful it can be used as a tool to imitate the wonders of nature in ways that are very subtle and also impactful. And I don't think there is a single better way to end this, and I don't think there is a single better description of the impact of Bartók's Piano Concerto No. 3 than what you can find on just a single TED Talk on YouTube that was done by Benjamin Dunlap, who is a highly prominent, high-profile professor from South Carolina who, for about 15 years, was the president of Wofford College. He did a TED a little over a decade ago called The Lifelong Learner, which was mostly describing the life and his relationship with Sandor Czeslor, who was a textile factory executive from Hungary who survived the Holocaust. It is my favorite TED Talk of all time. It's as profound and informative as it is just highly emotional. And then they talk about Bartók briefly in the TED, which I have transcribed, and I will read to you, as the text in this is so beautiful that it can be overwhelming to me at times. So, paraphrase, no. And I quote, Czesler had virtually every recording of Bartók's music ever issued, and it was at his house that I heard for the first time Bartók's Third Piano Concerto, and learned from Mr. Czesler that it had been composed in nearby Asheville, North Carolina, in the last year of the composer's life. He was dying of leukemia, and he knew it, and he dedicated this concerto to his wife, Ditta, who was herself a concert pianist, and into the slow second movement marked Adagio Religioso, or Adagio Religioso. He incorporated the sounds of birdsong that he heard outside his window in what he knew would be his last spring. He was imagining a future for her in which he would play no part, and clearly this composition is his final statement to her. It was first performed after his death, and through her to the world, and just as clearly it is saying, it's okay. It was all so beautiful. Whenever you hear this, I will be there. It was only after Mr. Czesler's death that I learned that the marker on the grave of Béla Bartók in Hartsdale, New York, was paid for by Sándor Czesler. Jauna Pat Béla. Not long before Mr. Czesler's own death at the age of 97, he heard me hold forth on human iniquity. I delivered a lecture in which I described history as, on the whole, a tidal wave of human suffering and brutality, and Mr. Czesler came up to me afterwards with gentle reproach and said, You know, Doctor, human beings are fundamentally good. And I made a vow to myself, then and there, that if this man, who had such cause to think otherwise, had reached that conclusion, I would not presume to differ until he released me from my vow. And now he's dead, so I'm stuck with my vow. Now, Yaunapat Chandor. It is such a profound, end quote. Such a profound text. So yeah, I just wanted to share all this knowledge, and thank you very much, and I'll see you.